It's just a little after 12. So Megan, what is on the agenda for today?
I think you're muted.
I did mute because I had children consulting me because they only want to talk to me when I'm in meetings. So I didn't get much further like on the site furnishings things following Thursday's board meeting. I prioritized getting the evaporative cooler project out to bid. So it is out to bid. So I was going to update everyone on that. And they just the turf wall panels for Helderberg. I was going to just go over scheduling for that. And then maybe talk about just some collection reconfiguration to address those comments about being having more seating, welcoming feeling. That's it.
Hey, Heather.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going well.
Brianna should be joining shortly. She said she had some trouble getting in, but it'll be okay.
Cool.
Well, did you want to, should we just start the meeting if we're not going to have anything we have to vote on? If other people join in, we can maybe get them up to speed a little bit. But it's about probably 5 after 12, I think. So we should probably just get going. Did you have something? You said, Megan, you wanted to talk about seating in the library?
Yes, just possibly doing some reconfiguration of stacks and seating potentially. But first, I'll just touch base on some of our previous topics. At your board meeting last Thursday evening, we got the approval to go out to bid for the evaporative cooler replacement project. So that was put out to bid to the public on Monday, the 21st. We will have bids due at the library on March 7th. Next Monday, the 28th, I am going to hold a pre-bid walkthrough for contractors to come, and it should be very brief. They're just going to walk, around the loading dock to see the unit, and hopefully inside Lou to see the meeting room, or sorry, the mechanical room and the electrical room, just so they can have a visual to go along with the drawings and specifications. And then we'll just, Kathy, ask you to coordinate a special board meeting following that bid, when bids are due on Monday the 7th, so that we can award the contract promptly. So far, we're going according to the schedule and timeline.
Hey, Megan, what time on the 7th are you hoping to have your public bid opening?
10 a.m.
Okay, I'll get it onto my calendar. And do you have a preferred room?
I wasn't even going to use a room. I was going to gather everybody at the front doors and walk around to the loading dock.
Okay.
And maybe just have Lou take us in, or someone take us in through your staff entry just to see the mechanical room and electrical room.
Sure, I'll plan on being there, and Lou presumably will as well.
This is much smaller scale than your last pre-bid walkthrough for the.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Any other questions on the evaporative cooler replacement work?
Just the observation about July 25th that if you happen to hear anything either favorable or unfavorable about the supply chain on this subject, keep us posted,
I will. We'll have a better schedule, or harder schedule, once we get to this line item of contractors commence preliminary work, submittals, site visits, etc. in near the end of March, so near the end of next month. There are 3 different vendors or manufacturers that create or that build an evaporative cooler that meet the specifications of the project. One of them has a 6-month lead time. One of them has a 10 to 14 week lead time, and the other has like a 14 to 18 week lead time. So it all depends which vendor they pick. They know our timeline. I put it in the document, so most likely they won't be specifying or submitting on the one with the 6-month lead time, but we will find out and work accordingly. And then once they have that submittal approved, they will have production information, and we can put some hard dates to these anticipated dates. Hopefully it gets better than end of July.
Okay, thanks.
I'll move on to the acoustic wall panel replacement in the Helderberg room. The board did approve moving forward with these. So Tim, I'm going to get you the purchase order today so you can sign it so they can get that officially submitted. There is currently an 8-week lead time for the production of the panels, knowing that the school district has the Helderberg room reserved for their art displays through the end of May. I'm earmarking the first 2 weeks of June for the removal of the existing panels and the installation of the new, so that hopefully by mid-June, the Helderberg room is complete and open for programs and business.
Great. And that's all signed off. Oh, wait, you're sending me the purchase order or the invoice today, right?
Correct. I will send you the purchase order today for your signature.
Okay, and I'll execute it today.
I have not advanced more on the site furniture, but I will for our next meeting so that we can get things more finalized and ordered. But at the board meeting, we did have this anticipated $50,000 expenditure approved. So we now have a budget to work against. So that's great.
So I want to just mention something there. And you're quite likely going to not agree, Megan, but I did speak with the department heads after our last design steering committee meeting. And one of our department heads has had a sunsetter awning on the back of her house for 25 years with no problem. And none of them saw an issue with, being responsive to patrons who might say, I would like it open or I would like it closed. So, their vote is toward a retractable awning. And I don't have experience with awnings or with this sail type concept, but I'm worried about 2 things with the sail type concept. One is it just doesn't quite look like a public library to me. It looks more like I guess an outdoor seating area at a restaurant, and maybe that's a little bit of what we were going for with our cafe. And the other is I'm just concerned that wind will, make this a nightmare to deal with. So those are my 2 cents, but I'm not an architect, and I defer both to the design sensibility that you would have, and maybe that other committee members would have, and whatever, if you don't share my concerns about wind, then I can drop them. But my instinct is to go with something retractable that would be easier to deal with than taking this thing down, folding it up, and this design is either open or closed, whereas an awning is retractable, so therefore sort of quicker to change than a sail. Over to you.
I'm just curious, awnings on residential houses, probably don't get as much use as maybe retractable awnings in commercial structures. I don't know. I mean, I defer to you, Megan.
I personally have an retractable awning on my house. I have never done either option for a library. We are currently specifying a collection of these sails at the Albert Wisner Public Library for their outdoor spaces because they're doing a lot of outdoor programming now. The things to consider, and maybe we need to talk to an awning company, is the extension versus the height. So what I mean when I say that is, let me just go back in the slides to the overall. It would be located here, or if you can see where my cursor is.
We can.
I wasn't planning on covering the doorway.
Mhm.
So my concern is the height of this wall needs to be tall enough, I think it is, to have the lowest, to mount this in a way so that the lowest part of the awning, I know it comes out horizontally, but we need to make sure that it's well above anyone's head height. Like I know, for instance, if I extend my awning all the way out, I decapitate my husband. I say, you know, you can see it, so don't walk into it, but he gets a little sensitive about these things. So we just need to make sure that the heights work in that case scenario. And they usually have a diagonal arm that holds them out if they're going to extend. In this case, we were going to try to extend 10 feet. So there would be some bracing for it that might interfere with pathways. So we just need to sort of see what the components are and the dimensions are so we can make sure that we're not causing any conflicts. Walkways.
So what you're saying
go
might be
ahead.
too low commercial space.
I'm sorry, Kathy?
It might be too low. Too low to the ground.
It might. We just need
Too not high enough.
correct. Like it needs to be a certain height. How does mine work? Yeah, and the like mine cranks out from the bottom. It extends out from the bottom. Slides up. I can't even remember. It's winter time now. So we just need to make sure all the components work and we don't have any head knockers with that diagonal bracing or the outside edge of the canopy.
Right, and with the sail, you don't have that issue.
Correct, because it can be a horizontal plane or it can have some angle to it, but we would do everything above head height.
Okay, so something that we're still looking into.
Yes.
Okay.
I think calling it a sail is more for the shape than the material. These materials are meant to breathe and accommodate wind. So when we think about it, we shouldn't be thinking about it catching the wind or capturing the wind. I know we've had some tremendous windstorms, but this should accommodate most winds, not hurricane force winds perhaps, but normal seasonal winds. But we'll do some more, I'll do some more research on those.
Megan, I'm sorry, I was a little late in the meeting. Could you remind me, is the sail to be left up all year round? Does it come down in winter, or is it like day by day to decide to put it up?
My thought would be you would put it up probably late spring and take it down in early to mid fall. It wouldn't stay up throughout the winter.
Okay. And it wouldn't be like a day by day decide to put it up. It has to be tied up and permanent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or it's like what you see at like playground structures.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do some more work on that. Other topic for, so does anyone have anything else?
So let me just ask about the additional work you're going to do. Do the same companies sell retractable awnings that sell this type of technology, or is it two different animals?
Oh, totally different animals.
Okay. All righty.
David Gilliam had asked the estimated time frame for the site furniture and amenities. I'd like to get them ordered ASAP. So hopefully at our next meeting, we can go over quantities and colors and such, since we seem to have a pretty good direction. So we can tweak anything need be at our next meeting and then get the orders placed. If everyone is on board, I can get the quote ready for the site planter now. So we've got that one ready to go ASAP for our next meeting.
I like it.
I like it too.
I like it.
We have a quorum. Thank you for showing up, Peter.
Hi, Peter.
Good morning. I apologize about being late and glad I could be on.
For being here. So any other topics for the committee? I don't know. Lou, I know you were trying to get some numbers from DeJezer, the plumbing contractor, to do some additional work. Have you got that yet? I'm gonna go for no. I don't think he's there.
Maybe you're muted, Lou?
He's not.
Okay.
Oh, I have the ability to
I'm
mute.
sorry, I'm on the phone with Flex.
Probably
Life-
more.
The life of Lou, you know? We'll come back to you.
So the other topic for conversation was one that Tim had brought up last week or at our last meeting about some of the perceptions that there's not enough seating out and available, and the entry to the collection area doesn't seem as welcoming as some would like. And staff has been brainstorming some ideas. And then Tim and I spoke about it in a little more detail yesterday about strategies that are just furniture based that could potentially address this concern. So this is sort of the original conceptual furniture layout of stacks. We did turn these. I've forgotten I grabbed this. So the collection to the north is turned parallel with our walkway, and then the rest are perpendicular. But what folks are saying is that they'd like to see more seating right at the entryway. So my thought was we could borrow that soft seating from the fish tank area and move it down to the new and popular area. There was there's a 48-inch tall shelving unit that's behind these seats right now that could be relocated as well, just to create a little bit of a buffer so that folks don't feel like there's people constantly walking behind them, but there's still visual sightlines to the seating and the collections and such. And then so we can slide the stacks down or just add more stacks at this end to balance out moving the ones from this area. And keeping some of those tables and chairs prominently located as folks walk in so that they can see seating.
You know, that, I'm sorry if I'm interrupting, but a big positive on this suggestion, which I'm seeing, and it's not a problem, but I'm seeing for the first time, but is that I think it's an improved sight line through to where these two tables are in front of the fish tank. You know, the shelf in the center of the photo you're showing isn't the favorite design element of many staff members, just because it's sort of wall-like, it feels like to us. So I do like that proposal. And I think the whole point of this reading room, since almost all of the pieces, except for the one we're looking at, are on wheels or mobile, is that, you know, we can play with it ad infinitum over time.
And that was the hope.
Yeah, although, you know, the collection remains so large that to gain real flexibility, we'd need a slightly smaller collection, you know, which, you know, happens, of course, in libraries. But I like what you've proposed, although you know, it's almost like, to me, I hope you don't hate me, but it's almost like too much seating that's been moved over there. You know, it's
Level of it. And perhaps step one is to just relocate the shelving unit so that there's more of a sight line to the seating and the fish tank.
Mhm.
This shelving unit here, thinking that we wanted a little bit of a barrier for kids so that they don't go charging straight down into this adult reading area,
Hmm.
so that and that they go to their side of the fish tank,
Right.
create a little bit of a buffer. But it is a beautiful seating area, so maybe step one in terms of levels of intervention is move that shelving unit and see if that creates enough sight lines and excitement for folks. Maybe step two is to move 2 of the chairs rather than 4 to this area and reconfigure
Mhm.
by just sliding everything down a 6-foot module or so. Another thought I had, and this was just an idea, if the telecenter room isn't needed as a meeting room at this time, but we don't want to give up on the ability to have it as a meeting room since you've gone to the trouble of fitting it up with all the current technology for hybrid meetings. We've got a new exterior door to the plaza. What if some collection was staged in there and maybe the door was taken off so that it was a little more user friendly, or there was a flow between it, and then you could put some collection there just to open up the floor space sort of in this zone a little bit more and get more seating in this area, because you could move some of these smaller tables and chairs out here as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I think the sense of the people I've spoken to, the various board members on this committee, and then various staff members, is that we do want to use the Tawacentha room as a boardroom in the future. And it may be sooner than we know that we're back to physical meetings. But those are rolling shelves, so I'm not so sure how hard it would be to, put a small amount of the collections in there. If the door were removed, of course, then, you'd have kind of an issue for board meetings, just because you'd probably be both the collection noise, the library noise would be coming into the board meeting, and the board meeting noise would be coming into the library. So maybe just propping it open most of the time, or widening it, or something like that. Although when we talk about widening, I think there's a sense that various parties share that we'd like to try to improve the area without necessarily doing any more construction or destruction, in order to help the project come to a close. So to me, a compromise would be just to kind of keep the door open. But anyway, just thoughts.
So you certainly have
Just to
glass.
keep a collection in there, right? The local history collection used to be in there. Is that
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
moved someplace else?
Yes, it's at this end now in this room.
Okay. So you would just put different collection in there and then just move it when we need to use a boardroom?
You could, or this wouldn't have to be a long-term solution. It could just be a short-term solution. So as a short-term option, if you have collection here, you could use the Westbrook room for board meetings,
Mhm.
depending on other schedules.
I think it's important to mention to everyone here, since I've mentioned to some of the folks here, that the original proposal that I brought up a couple weeks ago from the staff that involved removing this wall entirely remains interesting to many of us. However, as I discussed with Megan yesterday, there's no reason it would have to be done now. Like if we continue to get concerns and complaints and people saying that the library is not welcoming, there's no reason we couldn't do it in 2 or 3 years. Megan, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a wall that doesn't bear weight, and so it's something we could just think about for a while and not do as part of this construction project, if in fact we ever do it at all. How does that strike people? Like, save it as an option for the future if people feel like it becomes necessary.
Right, but I was always just kind of curious, if you took that room out, then you're down to 2 meeting rooms, because the other previous meeting room is now going to be the cafe. So you have what, the Westbrook and the Helderberg room. So and also the technology is in that room for meetings. So I didn't really see the advantage to taking away room.
Right.
Can I
And
say
and
something?
who's complaining? Like, how many people are complaining? Because I mean, I got the impression that very few people are using the library right now because we have correct me if I'm wrong, we're limited to selecting books and checking them out. Is that pretty much or you could sit down, or you could stay in the library a little bit, but we're not having meeting rooms, we're not having story hour at the library, or we're not drawing a lot of people in. So I just wondered, like, have you had a lot of complaints about the library having too many stacks as you walk in or something like that?
Yeah, I would say we've had 6 or 8 complaints. And just as an update on we do have a lot of people staying and studying in small groups now. And the computers are out, both in the youth side and in the adult side. So use of the library has moderated into something, greater than just come in and pick up your stuff. Although, as you kind of noted there, there's a ways to go yet with meeting rooms and study rooms and so forth. But it's moving back to a shadow of its normal self, so.
Can I say something, please? I think that when people are talking about seating, and I could be wrong, nobody's going to say it. I don't think if you went and asked them why they were saying it, they would say it. I think some of these people who are criticizing it are people who are complete opposition to the fact that we haven't opened meeting rooms up. So it's not that we don't have the seating inside the library, because we do. I mean, we have more than we had prior. Those are people, I'm guessing, are a majority of people who are like myself, who probably believe the meeting room should be open. So I don't think that it's a matter of that wall having to come down. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, I'm just being honest here that this isn't anything to do. We have enough seating in there. And when we're open at full capacity and we're running like we used to run before, I don't think anybody's going to say it. There's a lot of people who are very frustrated with the library right now because we're not open in the way they would view it. I definitely don't think we need to take this wall down at this point in time. And I think was that room like a donation or something from somebody to at one point? I think that was a thing we discussed previously. That room and the glass windows and wood, it was some type of donation, I believe, that came from somebody. So I don't think we need to overthink this here. This is just my opinion. We definitely have plenty of seating and will in the future when we open up fully.
I am in agreement, almost 100% with you, Peter. What I think the actual problem is not that we don't have enough seating. I think that it's that we've got the mobile shelving in the main reading room packed very, very tight. And then the taller shelving does not move. And so I think people want to be able to kind of perch for 5 minutes and while they read a table of contents or the back of a video case without standing in the main general areas of the library. I think your comments about meeting rooms and et cetera are well taken. I think that we've got the flexibility to make people feel that they can sit down somewhere in this main entryway without taking that wall down. So
I would say, I mean, this project was a huge project. There was a lot of involvement in it. That library is beautiful. So even though I might not agree with how many we're allowing in and seating and stuff like that, some people who are saying that stuff are just saying it because they're frustrated. I mean, it's a beautiful project. The amount of hours and the time and the thoughts that were put into this, it's an amazing space.
I also think you're going to get a lot more positive feedback as more patrons come in, that they really see that their comments from that pre-referendum meetings and surveying really are heard. Even though there is a lot of stacks as you first walk in, that was actually one of the things that was discussed, that they wanted sort of that bookstore feel, where they could see different collections very easily and move through the space without a lot of wayfinding required. So I think you need to give it a little more time to really get folks back in. And I'd hate to see you change too much and then have all those folks come in and say, hey, what happened to all the goals we had established at the pre-referendum and referendum level.
Yeah. Yep. I think the bottom line is we can play with these configurations really kind of anytime we want, you know? You know, sorry, in some levels, I mean, like, I do see promise to removing that wall potentially, but I don't think it's necessary now. Plus, I know I've spoken about this with Kathy and with others. When you walk in the front door of the library and the front windows are uncovered and you see the automated handling system working and you have meetings going on off to your right, and there's still a few lighting improvements, there's going to be a lot more energy before you even hit this doorway when the library is functioning more normally. So I think maybe we keep an eye on it, but right now we just get flexible with our furniture designs. And there is I just want to verify, Megan, that a couple things. One, that we're still waiting on one or two sort of Barnes and Noble-y display type things that are meant to go inside the front door. And then B, that we do have a budget if we felt like we needed to add a few more chairs at this point in time that we could deploy in that area. Both correct?
Well, they're correct. We were sort of having like a wedding cake tiered table. It's shipping on Monday, the 28th, so it should be with all the other sort of miscellaneous things like that slat wall for the lobby area that you'd asked about a few weeks ago, Tim. Some of those two shorter mobile units, just to not be the overhanging onto that pathway. All those sort of miscellaneous pieces that we had been waiting for are finally shipping on Monday. So those will come in, and the only then outstanding shelving units will be the additional overflow local history display cases. So yes, and then there's still funds available if we needed to get more chairs and different chairs. And maybe we need to think about maybe doing a bench or two along the walls of the study room so that, similar to what you were saying, read the back of a DVD case or something like that, that someone has a spot to perch or to put down a pile.
I like the bench idea. And the other thing I would add is that when we get a little bit of, kind of framed art up and so forth, that will greatly soften the visual impact of the main reading room. And people may or may not agree with this, but I was chatting with Brianna and Christina Ronald today, and I was like, the tops of these mobile shelving units could certainly have small decorative items on them that move around and rotate that would kind of soften the space. I'm thinking like the non-breakable sort of ceramics and things like that, if this was your living room, you might, have some accent pieces around instead of just what I would guess are like 80 flat bookcases that are all exactly the same height, So there's lots of options to kind of soften the space a little bit. So I do also want to say that I just got a text from Vanessa, who had a scheduling mishap and is in another meeting, so won't be joining us, but I reassured her we have a quorum and we're not really voting on anything big, so at all. So I'm satisfied that we can figure out a way once this new stuff comes, this wedding cake display thing, and apparently we can just pick up that large 3-panel bookcase ourselves and move it. One idea that I've spoken about with Christina Ronald is that just to the right of where Megan has shown these 4 chairs is the DVD collection. And the DVD collection is about 1/3 of our circulation, meaning a lot. And theoretically, you could just pick that up and move it over to the other end of the room where the fish tank is, and that would give you even more space that you could kind of draw people in, show a couple welcoming spots. So I think I think actually what the answer to these complaints might be is, well, let's just keep moving things around. Let's make it different every month or two until we find something that people all seem happy with. Or if we don't, we just keep moving things around.
And then soon there'll be too many bodies in there to even see the difference.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Oh,
So-
is there anything else?
Well, I just want to say related to that, like, we might want to put like $5,000, let's say, into the final budget to just leave it there in case we want, like, let's say we close this school district budget in June, but we're still playing with this concept and we feel like we want to spend, $3,500 on some chairs. To take that out of the regular annual budget is not necessarily easy to do. So we might want to think about a small earmark to make sure that we retain some flexibility over the first year of the design, much like we did with, I think we agreed in principle to spend up to like 5,000 framing and hanging things and putting labels on things and so forth. So that's something, if people are not opposed to it, I can just chat with Megan and David Gilliam as we're doing the financial side of things and kind of just try to retain a little flexibility for a short while longer.
Okay. Sounds good.
One issue I just wanted to bring up quickly. In regards to the vote that we did the other day to authorize money to be used for the counter for the cafe.
Mhm.
I know it originated here, and I'm definitely in support of that money being utilized. I think it incentivizes somebody coming in. That being said, I didn't know how flexible it was, because I think that if somebody, we don't want somebody to come in and look at the space, say it's already set up a certain way, it's not going to work for me. Is there a possibility for that money that we authorized to be held so that when somebody comes in, we can say to them, we have this amount of money to help you with whatever it's going to be? Because I think when we had the cafe committee, we talked about like pastry shelving, that type of stuff going there. So if we already put a counter in that area, it kind of limits what the person who will take that space over might want to do. So I just was wondering how flexible that money was.
Well, let me speak up to that too, to say that I met with one potential cafe vendor in the space last Thursday, and he said that exact thing. He said, boy, I'd sure like you to hold off until, until we finalize, if we finalize a deal between the library and this fellow, so that I can kind of customize that. So it's that old, chicken and the egg kind of thing that Megan first brought to our attention. We, at one point, I think we were talking about spending $20,000 for restaurant equipment, on spec. And then where would you be if nobody came to operate a restaurant, So I'm in favor of what you're saying, Peter. Although Megan, I don't know if we're in a situation right now where the millwork company believes the job is theirs and it's going to look exactly like that and it's going to start on such and such day. Can you speak to that?
Yes.
Okay.
Following our committee meeting, I sent you the purchase order based on that millwork company's proposal. You signed it, and then I returned it to the millwork company. Now, I don't think that they have started production on it. They may have ordered some supplies, but I don't know. Should I be calling them and asking them to tap the brakes on this?
Well, we do have a cafe committee meeting on Monday, correct, Peter?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay. So my gut would be, if the rest of the committee agrees that, maybe we should ask them to hold off at least until Monday before they start building, Tuesday before they start building anything, so that our cafe committee can, maybe deal with that question. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Peter, Kathy?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm on both committees. I think, as I recall, it wasn't a change order. It was a purchase order because there's additional funds left in the millwork budget. So I think it was just purchase order. Megan can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know. I think it was customizable in terms of different things that could go into it. But it was just a basic counter space. Am I just remembering that wrong? I don't think it was anything that was completely done. I think you could put a display case in it or something like that. Is that how it was, Megan?
It's somewhat customizable, but the outside face would not be. So you couldn't put a display case in it. You could put something in front of it. What we were customizing was sort of the counter portions of it, like the true horizontal work surfaces were removable. So if they wanted to put in a sandwich unit or put in something taller, they could. It's a cumbersome piece if they don't want it. It's 16 feet long because it's sort of the similar length as that rear counter to give a good work area. I think maybe we should have them put it on hold until you get a vendor, if you think you're near having a vendor for the space.
Well, if that works, I guess that's ideal. I assume that when we meet with the cafe committee, we're going to discuss going out to bid again. The first going out to bid didn't get any real interest, so I think we were thinking about going out.
Yes, correct. And I honestly think, Kathy, that if, when we meet on Monday, we could probably come up with a decision completely by the end of that Monday meeting, and Tuesday, give direction, or even that afternoon, give direction what to do with the counter. I would just like us to be able to sit down and discuss a little bit more and be in that space. We're doing that one in person, so it might be helpful. And then Phil's also going to be there too. And I know he's new to the committee, so I think we should just hold off and then give direction on Tuesday morning.
Okay.
I'll wait till Tuesday to hear from you guys.
Thank you, and I apologize.
No, that's okay. Better now than 2 more weeks down the road.
Is it Tuesday or Monday? I thought it was
We're going to have the meeting Monday, but then I just said then we could talk about it, and either an email could go out Monday afternoon to Megan or Tuesday morning. That's what I was referencing.
Oh, okay, great. All right, sounds good. All right, was there anything else?
Again, I was wondering, I couldn't tell from our punch list if the lighting had been shifted closer to the foundry or not, if that had happened, because it still seems pretty dark over there, but it's no longer on the punch list.
The recessed cans in the ceiling?
Yeah.
Let me double check.
Because I can't remember. I was like, was it over more? Has it changed? I didn't see them doing it, but it could have just been a day I wasn't here.
I'll confirm that. I'm gonna
If
be
it wasn't, it's still, that corner is still pretty dark with the shelving, with the new display.
I was there the day Jimmy was looking at it, and I believe there's ductwork in the way above the ceiling.
Oh.
That would prevent changing the lighting.
Yeah, I think he moved it as far over as he could.
Okay. I'll talk to Jimmy about it, or Flex.
And my understanding in general, Megan, is that the last time I spoke to Jimmy, which was maybe 10 days ago or a week ago, there were still some can lights in the front hallway outside the Helderberg room that they'd been changed, but the lights that came in were better, but they weren't what was really desired. So they were waiting for more lights to come in. Does that sound like it's on target?
I didn't know anything about that. I thought that they were just replaced, but I will have a longer, more detailed conversation with Flex now.
Yep. And I'm not positive that the lighting improvement in the corner of the new materials area has been done yet either. I need to take a closer look at that, but as long as you're speaking with Jimmy, you might just check on all the lighting that was outstanding.
I will. It was
for
on
not
my
being outstanding.
Monday.
So anyway, thank you. Now, I'm good on all these concepts. Do we, like Megan, do you have any idea if and when this committee needs to meet again?
I'd like to meet again in 2 weeks and do sort of finalize all of our site furniture so we can get those
Okay.
orders placed.
Cool.
Okay, so 2 weeks from today at noon.
Works for me.
All right, sounds good. Anything else?
Not for me.
Okay,
Thanks, everybody.
thank you.
Thanks, everyone.